Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to keep it very brief. And I'm Purva Jain. I work as an energy analyst with the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis. I'm happy to tell you more about the organization in the break later. And I would like to thank the organizers for having me here. I would like to start with a funny story. When I got the invitation, I got it for the earlier panel for green hydrogen. And the list had only 2 people listed in this session. So I was like, okay, let me go for this one because I'm also working on a report. And now it's become so crowded that it did not have a chair for me to sit on. So it's very interesting to see the interest and the participation of people in this segment and in this sector. It's also reflected in the interest of many countries and international organizations who are willing to join the Global Biofuels Alliance, which will be formally launched at the upcoming G20 summit. The Fuels for the Future is an important priority area for India's G20 presidency, and it's working along with the International Energy Agency to look at and identify high potential sustainable biofuel markets and ways to accelerate technology deployment in the sector. So this is something at the global level that the government is doing. It's promoting the Global Biofuels Alliance. At the domestic level, you would see that in the recent past, in the recent few months, there have been a lot of policy changes from the government side, which have sort of kind of reinvigorated interest in the sector. It's kind of an indication of how government is pushing the sector now, like the E21 that Sir was mentioning, or the budget announcement of 500 new CBG plants under the Govardhan scheme, or the recently launched unified portal for easy registration of biogas projects, which will also serve as a one-stop repository for investments and projects. So, of course, like biogas, it is the interest is coming back, and rightly so, because consider 25.5 million tons of the crop stubble, which comes from Punjab and Haryana every year. It has the potential to produce about 155 gigawatts of electricity or meet per day cooking needs of 96.5 million families of 5 every year. And when we add the information provided by Sir today that it is beyond Punjab and Haryana, the crop residue is 186 million tons. When you do the math on that, there is a lot of potential that the biogas sector has to give to us. So of course it's good. It's a high methane intensive gas. It's a 45 to 75% by volume. When you upgrade it to 90% by upgrading technologies, it is as good as your natural gas. It can be injected into your natural gas pipelines. It can be compressed to be in cascades as which can be a replacement for your CNG, or it can be transported like LPG in cylinders. So all this is great. Everything is great in the gas. It has so much potential. So why it is not taken off? Why under the SETAT scheme, in 5 years, did we see only 40 plants come online instead of the 5,000 target that we had? So a lot of that has been already covered by Colonel Dev here, and he talked about the challenges of the sector, and he talked about how there's a lack of comprehensive market ecosystem in terms of pricing and offtake, and how the sector did not have the right set of incentives. Complicated system of clearance and permissions. So this disaggregated nature of the government support and financial assistance that was being provided to the biogas sector was problematic. We saw multi-department, multi-ministry schemes and packages, some for and defined with the end use, some with the feedstock, and that kind of led to a slow uptake of the sector. Recently, the government has now, with the National Bioenergy Scheme, has unified all these and bundled all the different assistance under which were being provided to the sector, which would and is resulting in a slight higher uptake of biogas sectors in the country. Even the Govardhan scheme is an umbrella scheme, and it's looking at it says and uses the word whole of government approach, which will help in more consolidation of the sector. Apart from this, the challenges of the lack of guaranteed offtake for the compressed biogas. The compressed biogas that I was mentioning earlier, that it's the upgraded biogas, which can be compressed and used as a replacement for CNG or LPG, even the upgraded biogas, which can be injected in the gas grid. So challenge is the lack of guaranteed offtake, which creates fears in entrepreneurs for what if happens if there are no buyers for the gas later. there's still no guaranteed offtake for them, but there are recent policy initiatives such as the revision of the CBG rate and aligning it to the market of the CNG with the increase in the CNG price and bringing it to 70 rupees is a step in the right direction. The mandated commingling of the CBG in the city gas distribution network, which is being planned, will add more credibility to CBG. Even the mandate on natural gas marketing companies to take 5% CBG procurement will reignite private interest in the sector. But what is really required is take-or-pay arrangements to ensure guaranteed offtake of CBG by producers. Another major challenge that is there is the varying feedstocks and the lack of availability in usable forms. I think enough has been spoken about that at the forum today, so I will not really go into that, except for the fact that what we require is proper feedstock mapping. What I think Sir was also mentioning in the hydrogen panel earlier, that there is a need for the cluster development approach, that where your feedstock is and where you need to bring in your plants, that kind of mapping needs to happen so that what Colonel Dev also said, that there is no excessive competition for your biomass and you don't end up producing everything in one area and nothing in the other area. So that feedstock mapping is very important for India. And there's a need to shift from capex-based incentives to generation-based incentives to ensure operability of the biogas plants and to ensure that, you know, the plants that come online are also used and they do not become stranded assets. Even the biogas slurry, which is the waste product from the biogas plants, can be used as an organic manure, which is not being done a lot till now because of the knowledge gaps that are there. But the market development assistance package to the tune of rupees 1,500 per MT, with a total outlay of 1,500 crores that has been recently announced by the government, will really help overcome some of these barriers and encourage farmers to use fermented organic manure in the future. This will, in fact, lower the subsidy burden, the fertilizer subsidy burden of the government. You must remember, Sir mentioned that the initial cost of 5,000 Satat plants was estimated to be rupees 1.75 lakh crores, which is interestingly exactly equal to the fertilizer subsidy estimate for the current year. So when we are, another challenge for the biogas sector is that it's also competing with the subsidies that are being provided to the fossil fuel sectors. But however, the government is showing clear intent to promote and develop the biogas sector. Now it's on the developers, investors, banks, consumers, civil society to sort of pick up and start developing comprehensive market systems for smooth operability of the sector. There are a lot of risks. There are models like the PPP model which can help equalize and equilibrate the risk-reward ratios. Big players like Reliance and Adani New Industries have shown recent interest in the area, which will also further help pave way for more private investments in the sector. Even the Global Environmental Facility, which has allocated $14 million to India's proposal for guarantee mechanism for renewable biogas initiative, and it is a co-financing facility to be complemented with $705 million for setting up 100 compressed bioenergy projects, is going to be very useful for carbon mitigation. It's expected to mitigate 11.6 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent in the country. So encouraging such partnerships, collaborations, new financing mechanisms would enable market development and increase investments. It would also enable innovative financing mechanisms and peak private interest, which is the need of the hour of the sector. I think I'll end my thing here, and I'm happy to take any questions later outside. Thank you so much.